I'm Mark McPherson. Welcome to one of my videos where we take a look at one of what I call the essential, fundamental, core, non-verbal or visual communication skills. In this video we're going to take a look at what I call doing the best we can with our non-verbals and visuals to portray where we are on what I call the welcoming to resolute continuum. Now, if you don't like the word welcoming, throughout the video you'll find other words that you might want to use. Friendly, open, warm. Instead of resolute, authoritative, decisive, professional, business-like, I'll leave that in your hands. But let me explain. You're at a party. Hi everyone, how are you? You'll notice you're welcoming. The hands go out to the side. Now I'm exaggerating these movements for the sake of the video. Hi everyone, how are you? The palms tend to be up. It says welcoming, it says open. You tend to smile. You tend to have a voice which goes up and down a little bit. You are what I call bubbly. Your eyebrows move. Your head moves. You're bubbly. But as the party progresses, you tend to be a little bit more even in conversations. Really, I didn't know that. Oh, tell me more. And then what happened? You're kidding. So you've still got plenty of expression. That's not the issue. The issue is you're no longer quite as bubbly. Now let's say later on at the party someone says something you find offensive. You might turn around to them and say, John, when you said blah blah blah, I found that offensive. Please don't say it again. Now you'll see that the voice has gone down a little bit. Our face is stationary. Doesn't mean that you can't do facial expressions. I'm not saying you're frowning or whatever it happens to be and not raising your voice. You're not necessarily angry, but the voice has become lower, a lot more even. The face tends to be more stationary, although you might still use your eyebrows and tilt your head or whatever. Not saying you just stand there frozen like this, but you've gone from bubbly to a lot more even. Now we do this naturally, but sometimes we don't do it as well as we should, and we can add, or we'll just at least make sure we're putting in these non-verbals and visuals as well as we can to portray where we want to be on this scale. You're the MC at an event. Hi everybody. It'd look a bit strange if you said hi everybody, at least in our culture. That wouldn't say hi, welcome. It'd say be quiet, I've had enough, stop it, or whatever it happens to be. So parents do this incredibly well. Hi. Welcome home from school. Now I'm not saying they always do it quite like that, but you get the point. But if you're in trouble, and I'm sure that you're not, but when you're a child, parents might say, I'm very disappointed in your homework, a level of homework, or not doing your homework. I'm very disappointed with the lack of chores you've done today. You're in trouble. You'll notice how the whole demeanour changes. So we need to make sure we're doing or adding our non-verbal and visual communication to where we want to be on this continuum. When I was a guide at Jenolan Caves, a senior guide there took us aside and told us that, look, when you're giving the rules and regulations, please, be authoritative, be professional. I think that might have been the word he used. But look, stand there, don't puff your chest out, but just stand there nice and still. Get people's attention, look at people in make eye contact as much as is appropriate, and speak in a very evenly way. Tell them about the rules and regulations. It's a serious matter. Not angry, not frowning, not sad, but nonetheless, I call it resolute. Now, when it comes time, he said, to go into the cave itself, please, he said, say, hi everyone, if you've got your tickets ready now, please follow me. Look happy. Look open, palms up, voice a little bit bubbly. When I was a beginning teacher in 1977, a long time ago now, that's for sure, I do remember the head teacher taking us aside, taking a few of us aside and talking about, look, how important it is to be friendly and open to the kids. It's Monday morning. How was the weekend? Did everyone enjoy the football? Whatever it happens to be. But when you need to lay down the law, so to speak, be a bit more decisive, more authoritative, more professional, more serious. Choose a spot. Now that's another issue where you stand for these things. But he said, please, lower your voice a little bit. Wait for people to pay attention. If necessary, use your hands and say what you need to say, deliberately, authoritatively. Very different to this. Now, as I said, most of the time we do this incredibly well, but what we need to do is to make sure that we do it as well as we possibly can all the time to enhance the quality of our communication. I was hopping on a plane, I got a plane the other day, got on and the flight attendant says, "Hi Mr. McPherson, your seat is up on the right." Now I'm not saying they actually went like this, but they most certainly were friendly and they smiled and they bobbed their head a little bit and their voice was bubbly. But later on, that same flight attendant, when they were giving the safety procedures, demonstrating the safety procedures, not their voice, but the voice of the recording was quite flat and even, serious, if you like. Not sad, not annoyed or anything like that, but most certainly nice and even. And the person, the flight attendant demonstrating it, didn't look angry, didn't look sad, but looked serious. They were resolute, as I like to call it. I might just leave it there. That's probably enough. I think you've got what we're talking about. So next time when you are, wherever you are, in whatever circumstances, as a parent, manager, friend, colleague, spouse, whatever it happens to be, make sure that you utilise your non-verbal and visual communication as well as you can to portray where you are on this welcoming up to resolute end on this continuum. Let's leave it there. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, please look after yourselves, look after your family and friends, and I do hope to chat to you soon. All the very best. See you later.